Good evening, friends, and welcome to this edition of the Hamilton Report. Today's the 12th day of April, the beginning of Ramadan, and I'm glad that you are here with us this evening. We have a very, very important issue to discuss tonight, and I'm glad that you tuned in, and I think that you will be interested in hearing what my guests have to say about something that's happening on the other side of the aisle right now. Before we do that, though, I want to mention that the Oklahoma Democratic Party is this Saturday presenting our Campaign Academy 2021. This is different than what we've done before. In fact, there's more variety in our sessions, some top-notch presenters. We're really proud of the assembled lineup that we have. And I hope that if you've ever considered running for office, or if you have thoughts of perhaps one day working in the campaign world as a career, or if you are a volunteer and just want to learn more about how you can help your candidate, I hope that you will take advantage of this great opportunity. It's very, very affordable, and you don't have to travel. It's all done electronically. So that's this Saturday beginning at 8:45 in the morning, a solid day, and our keynote speaker will be Abby Broyles, talking about the things that she learned in her campaign and questions that perhaps she wished that she had asked before she jumped in. So it's going to be a great day of training and certainly some super networking opportunities. You can get all the details that you need at okdemocrats.org. So please give that some serious thought, because we'd love to have you as a part of this program. As I said, tonight we have a very challenging issue to discuss. It's one that threatens every Democrat and, frankly, every Republican, every independent, everyone in the state of Oklahoma. This weekend, the Oklahoma GOP elected as their new chair someone who is well known in political circles for his racist attitudes, his bigotry, and the challenges that we face as a state with that kind of leadership are nothing to give short shrift to, because they endanger all of us. To take a closer look at this important issue, it's my privilege to introduce the chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party to our show tonight. This is the first time, actually, I think that she's been a guest on this program since we began. But you know her every day from her live updates at 4:15 on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. It's my privilege to welcome to our show tonight the chair of our party, Alicia Andrews. Alicia, good evening, and thank you. I know it's been already a very exhausting day for you, but thank you for being with us tonight.
Hi, Scott, and hi, Democrats.
If you would, please tell the audience a little bit about the press conference today and why you felt it was necessary for us to make such a public stand about the election that's totally out of our hands. It's in another party entirely.
Okay, so for those who are unaware, the Oklahoma Republican Party has a structure just like the Oklahoma Democratic Party, and they had their convention this past weekend. And they elected, I've gone out of my way not to say his name, and I don't want to say his name, but they elected.
And that's fine.
They've elected a known xenophobe, gun nut, homophobe to lead their organization. We cannot let that stand. Oklahoma is part of the United States. It's part of the world. It's 2021 here as well. And electing someone like that to lead at this time, while our nation is suffering from racial injustice, is not only tone deaf, but it's dangerous, it's harmful, and it's traumatic.
You know, as I mentioned, he's no stranger to controversy, and it's all controversy of his own doing. But he particularly took on the Muslim community and made some scathing allegations, basically disenfranchising the entirety of the Muslim community in Oklahoma. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
When you said scathing allegations, he did more than that, right? When Muslim youth, high school students came to a day of the Capitol, which should be an honor and should be, very interesting for high school students who want to be involved in politics. Instead of welcoming them and letting them enjoy the process, he subjected them to bigoted questions. Right? He asked high school students if they beat their wives. He has gone on record as saying that Muslims are a cancer that need to be cut out of American society. It's just it's divisive for no reason. It makes Oklahoma look bad, and it as you said, it disenfranchises our neighbors and members of our community.
I want to put up a photograph of this man and his family. This was, I believe, from their Christmas card. And this gives you an indication of who we're dealing with here. Defaming the American flag to make clothing out of it, carrying these horrific assault weapons. And you can't make this kind of stuff up. I want to bring in now another guest who's joining us. He's been on our program before, always representing the Young Democrats of America, where he's the president. But tonight, he's joining us as the co-state director of Moms Demand Action. Josh Harris-Till, welcome to the program. I'm glad you're here tonight, sir.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Scott.
Josh, from that photo that I just showed you, what is your reaction to someone like that in a leadership role in a party as large as the Republican Party in Oklahoma?
I'll say now what I said earlier. I don't think John Bennett is a problem. I think he's a symptom of what the Republican Party has become, especially in Oklahoma. It's so devoid from logic. They pass unconstitutional laws every single year. They have nothing but hateful rhetoric about all kinds of different groups that aren't cis white folks. They put other people's lives in danger because it doesn't affect them. And there is a cult and almost godlike worship of the Second Amendment. And it makes absolutely zero sense because 90% of the restrictions and regulations, if implemented, wouldn't affect them at all. But they still fight against every single one of them. And so, like I said, John Bennett is John Bennett. He's always been John Bennett. And nobody can pretend like they didn't know who he was before he was brought in as chair. So the reason that they elected him is because that is who they are as people. That's who they are as a party right now.
I wish I could say that you're wrong there, but you're not. I mean, to have the support of so many people behind someone, and this goes beyond Trumperism. This is a new kind of idolatry. You said the word cult, and that's a perfect word for this. And yet that's where we are. I had a call in the office last week from a woman who was outraged, wanted me to call President Biden and tell him to quit talking about gun control. Well, I didn't have his number on speed dial that day, so I wasn't able to call him, but I did listen to what she said. And she told me that her sons, if they couldn't buy assault weapons legally, that they would buy them on the black market. Now that's how wrapped up folks are in their guns. But as bad as that is, and I don't want to minimize that piece of this individual in any way, it's when you add the gun nut side on top of the racist piece and then the bigotry on top of that, you have a whole big picnic there that's extremely dangerous. Now, Josh, I know, and I know that you share this story publicly, so I did not ask you before, but I feel comfortable in asking you to speak a little bit about it. Gun violence has impacted your family in the closest possible way. And so when you see someone like him in such a leadership position, if you had a chance to just sit down with him, what would you tell him?
I tell the story often that you're referring to, and that is in 2013, 8 people were shot and 5 of those folks were children, and 3 of them were related to me. One of them sitting in the living room playing video games right now because by the grace of God, even though he was 10 years old when a bullet first entered his body, he survived that. There is a disconnect from human life when it comes to the Second Amendment for these people. And I would tell him that look, owning guns is a hobby, whether you believe it is or not, right? You say it's protection. In that family photo, there's 5 guns. There's no threat coming into their house where all of the children need to have assault rifles and know how to use them. It's just nonsensical. But it's like when gun violence has affected you your whole life, you see these things differently. I was shot at for the first time when I was 6. I was shot at for the last time last June. This isn't something that's gone away because
You weren't just shot at, you were actually shot.
I was grazed. I don't make a big deal of it because I have a lot of people who worry way too much. Sorry, Alicia. But there is a lack of reasoning that happens when people have guns and they don't have proper training and they haven't been properly vetted because they don't understand what's on the other side of that weapon. They don't understand the impact that a bullet can have on somebody. Like, they go out and they create this cult around it because they don't want to lose their guns, even though there's no scenario in which most of them would lose their guns, but because they've been indoctrinated by the gun lobby who has utilized this for profits for so long. Like, it's an ad campaign. The Democrats are taking your guns as an ad campaign that has worked flawlessly for years. They didn't even have to tweak it. And so I would implore him and beg him and try to appeal to whatever, sensibilities he has to just disconnect yourself from the rhetoric and get back towards caring about people. Be Christian, right? I know he believes Jesus would have had an AR-15, so I don't know what Christianity he actually follows. But if we're going to talk about Christian value, be Christian. Love thy neighbor as yourself. Protect everybody that you love and care about, and promote common sense and love. And you can't tell me that giving everybody a gun is promoting common sense and love. Like, that just it doesn't register with me, and it doesn't register with my belief or interpretation of faith.
Thank you for that. And you're talking about something that ostensibly can be fixed, and that is working with people to mitigate their fear about someone coming in the night to steal all their guns away from them. But to me, the larger issue is the matter of race and bigotry. If that's who's leading the Republican Party, Alicia, how do we begin to combat that? I heard what Josh said, just love everyone. And that's a great sentiment. But seriously, how do we as Democrats begin to chip away at these great lies that are just perpetuated to the point where they become, for many people, sadly, reality?
So I want to piggyback on something, or maybe contradict something that Joshua said. He implores him to, follow some sort of Christianity. And I say he's not going to do that. He's not going to apologize. He's not going to recant any of his statements. He's not going to change anything, because the reality is this, that he is a representative of what the Oklahoma Republican Party has become. He wasn't elected by acclamation. He had 3 challengers. So they had other people that they could have picked, but they picked him. They doubled down. There was national media about the fact that he was running. I know this because I participated in some of it. This was coming. They knew it was coming, and he got elected. It wasn't like he was picked and they just said, okay, we'll take John, but that's all we have. They had other people to choose from. So they knew what kind of values that he stands for, not just the having way too many guns, more guns than one household needs. Not just that. it is the xenophobia, it's the racism, it's the homophobia. Those are the things that he stands for. And he was elected because that's what the party stands for. And what can we do? We need to get our message out there. We need to make sure that we're recruiting and supporting. Let me be very, very clear on that for the Democrats who are watching, supporting quality candidates, because we've got to do something about the balance in the legislature. Because as long as they have a supermajority, they will not. They don't have to change. They don't have to evaluate what's going on in their lives and the rules that they're putting, the laws that they're putting up, and the issues that they're going to the media. They don't have to, because they're having a hard time getting any opposition. And so what we have to do is we have to make the noise, and we have to show, because I want to believe, like Joshua believes, that there are decent-minded Republicans out there. I mean, I know Republicans who I am friends with. I want to believe that Republicans of good conscience don't want to be associated with this level of racism, xenophobia, homophobia. I don't want to believe that, but they have to stand up, because it's up to us to go get our folks and bring them back in line once they go out there. And it's up to the Republicans to go out and bring them out there. The only thing we can do is make sure that they are aware of what is representing them. They are being represented by a racist. They're being represented by a homophobe. They need to know that. And the thing that we can do is make sure that they are aware that that's the picture that is being painted of them.
And that's precisely why we're doing this particular broadcast tonight, because it's important to me that especially my friends who are Republican understand that this is their leadership. Alicia, I've heard you talk before. This session has been a crazy one. We've had a white lawmaker refer to colored babies. We heard another white lawmaker said that he would rather be an alive slave than a dead baby, because the fight against abortion is stronger. The need for that is stronger than the need to abolish slavery. These kind of statements would not be made if they didn't feel untouchable. How do we begin in a legislature that is so emboldened? Presumably a lot of that by Trump, but he didn't invent this. This kind of cancer started a long time ago. How do we get people to understand that their actions have consequences?
Well, as you know, and I hope the folks who are watching know, that I am a big proponent of advocacy. They have to record all the calls and all the emails that they get. And we need to make noise. We need to make sure that they understand that what they're doing is unacceptable. It's not just the colored babies, and it's not just abortion versus slavery. It's the transgender individuals can't participate in high school or college sports. We can't teach the concepts of racism and sexism. And I think, if nothing else, these examples show that we need that education. There are all kinds of bills that have been put up that are mainly about division. They're mainly about excluding some folks. And what we have to do is we have to keep reaching out to our legislators, be them Republican or Democrat, because until they hear from us, until they have repercussions, they're going to continue. They're going to continue with these divisive bills that aren't meant to move Oklahoma forward. They're only meant to divide and perform for someone who's no longer president.
Yes, I'm glad that you said that. Josh, I'm going to bring you back up, because I want to ask you for a moment, to change hats and look at your work, particularly with young Democrats. Does this kind of leadership on the Republican side help you engage young Democrats, or does it simply make them say, I'm not doing this, it's pointless? What are you hearing from younger people?
You know, the interesting perspective of it, if I take off my mom's hat and I put on my young Dems hat, this is Alicia Andrews' fault, right? We elected a educated, competent, effective, passionate, driven Black woman, and so they did the exact opposite, and they put John Bennett in there. We elected Obama, they elected Trump. Like it's right in line for how this was supposed to happen. The reality is, I think the Oklahoma Republicans don't even respect their party. They don't look to it for leadership. They don't reach out to them to learn how to do things more effectively. The Oklahoma Republican Party, in my opinion, literally only exists to talk on social media, and to sometimes have press conference to respond to the stuff that the Oklahoma Democratic Party is doing. Alicia Andrews spends every single day doing work. Show me work that the I don't even know who the chair was before John got in there, because that is how ineffective that person was at the job. John Bennett is going to be great at talking on the news to say crazy things that gets them attention, but he's not going to work. He's never done the work. He's never cared about the work. He's never cared about the people. The opposite being Alicia. This is going to give me the opportunity to show young people, look, I can point to this person who likes to talk a lot and probably tweet. I don't know if John has a Twitter, but I'm sure they're going to give him one. And then I can point to Alicia and say, this is what work looks like. This is how hard she works. This is how many things she's done. This is how much money she's raised. And it's going to be a complete contrast of leadership within the party. And my generation especially loves to see, one, we stand the Black woman working all the time, all day, every day. But two, we love to have real life comparisons. And so you show me John Bennett and I show you Alicia Andrews, and the evidence is clear on what party you're supposed to be with. The first Black woman chair, the first Black chair, period, for Oklahoma. We was a little behind, but we finally got it right. And she's here now doing the work. John Bennett, ineffective legislator who came back from the crypt, I guess. I don't know where they found him to make him run for this position. But you're going to see these people go head to head. And I want to be on Alicia Andrews' team when that happens. I want to be able to say, one, I trust Black women, but two, I also associate with Black women, which isn't something that I think the other side's going to be able to say in the near future. And I think that's.
So you don't think he has that one Black friend?
I don't. I mean, T.W. Shannon still lives in Oklahoma, I guess, but I don't know him.
That was inside politics.
There's a couple people in the audience laughing. We'll keep that between us.
There you go. That's probably a good idea. I just want to say, though, for any young person who is trying to decide how you want to register, I hope that you will listen to what Josh just said. And if you're an older person who is already registered as a Republican, I have a deal for you tonight. Right after this broadcast, go to okdemocrats.org. You fill out the form. We will send it to you completed. All you do is sign it, check the D for Democrat, and you are changing your party affiliation. So that's an open invitation. Before you'd go, though, I want to ask Alicia, as we prepare to wind up this legislative session, and as we said, it's already been fully fraught with nonsense. How do you, and I'm asking, this is a very personal question, but how do you deal with the slings and arrows of racism that comes from 23rd and Lincoln?
You know, I've been thinking about this a lot, right? I am honored to be the first African American chair, first African American woman chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party. I am an unabashedly, unapologetically Black woman. But it stresses me a little bit out that so much of my time is spent talking about being a Black woman, about defending racism that's coming out of the Capitol. And so how do I deal with it? I know that in this time, I am the person who's supposed to be here, right? I am the person who will respond, who will deal with it, who can deal with it from lived experience. And so I'm grateful in a sense that this is my time. I'm exhausted in a sense that this is my time. But how do I deal with it? I deal with it because I know that I'm supposed to be here and that the people, not just the Democrats, who I represent proudly, but the people need to have someone represent them, need to have someone who stands up and says, no, that is not okay, and we demand an apology. We need to have that. And so that's how I deal with it. I know that I'm doing the right thing, and that's what gets me up every day.
And I appreciate you putting that into context, because I know as a gay man what it feels like to be the societal trauma that can come along with some very hateful words. And so I offer much respect. I want to underscore something that you said, though. You said it's not just the Democrats that you serve, but everyone. And I think that that's an important thing to understand here. That what we're talking about is not a threat just to the Republican Party. It's a threat to everyone who lives in Oklahoma. If you think that someone who demonizes gay people, who demonizes Muslims, who looks down on women, and is such a pro-gun nut, if you think that's going to draw business into Oklahoma, it's not going to happen. Would you speak to very quickly, Alicia, speak to the sports leagues and the kinds of comments that you've been hearing from them?
So HB 1775 is a bill that's being discussed right now that basically says, no, that's not the right number. I apologize. That's not the right number. But there's a bill that says transgendered children can't participate. Well, the NCAA just came out today with a statement saying that they support trans individuals participating in college sports. So if Oklahoma doesn't allow that in high school or college, first of all, we're shutting down the opportunity for education for those folks who need scholarships. And then secondly, we're shutting down commerce. They will not allow for any tournaments to come to a state that doesn't allow transgender participation in sports. So this isn't just about hurt feelings. This isn't just about racism, xenophobia. I mean, it's actually about the financial state of our state. It is long-reaching, it's far-reaching, and their hate isn't just an old boys club now. It is affecting revenue of our state.
And until we make that point very, very clear with both the local and state chambers of commerce, and we need them to start saying, "Wait a minute, this is terrible," and we need to engage them the same way that we need to engage all of our viewers. Please pick up the phone, call your representatives, call your senators locally. And in Washington, it's true, we don't have any Democrats representing the state of Oklahoma in Washington, but that still, you have that access, and still your information will be taken down. And at the end of the day, if enough people stand up for what is right and what is good, I promise you that we stand a chance not just of turning Oklahoma purple, but once again, restoring common decency to the place that we call home. We're just about out of time. Alicia Andrews, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I know it's been a 48-hour day for you, so thank you very much for being with us. Josh Harris-Till, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir. I appreciate all that you do, and thank you for being with us this evening. And finally, a thank you to our viewers. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you joining us. We want to hear from you what items that you'd like to see us really delve into, because this program is about you and making you better informed the same way that my guests make me a little smarter every week. I hope that you will join Alicia tomorrow at 4:15 for her daily lives, and I look forward to seeing you again next week right here at 7 o'clock on Monday evening for the next edition of the Hamilton Report. Good night.